Oh, absolutely.
And they're going to go to the
alternative
sources. Because if this is a story that should have been, if it was untrue, if it is untrue, should be quashed immediately as a result of a massive effort on the part of the Fourth Estate to rally around the integrity of the United States Constitution. And they didn't do that because they decided that that story was not worthy of their time.
Well, either that or they decided who they wanted in office, and so they were not going to cover anything that might be a negative for that person.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
There has been a lot of discontent among the public about politics. A lot of people are just dissatisfied with the way things are happening. What should be the way the country runs, and where did we start getting off track?
Well, it's an excellent question, Michael, and to answer a question that you had before we came on the air about the Federalist Papers and where we can go to find information out, I tell you how I've done it, even though I have several copies in book form, and I think a book is a good place to get information like that. Also going online and just typing in the Federalist Papers, and PDF websites come up, and you can search the Federalist Papers and you can research them. It's the internet is obviously a very valuable tool to do that. And in doing that personal search, you reinforce what I believe it was John Adams who said it, and I'm paraphrasing him liberally, when he said that in a country such as ours, with a government such as ours, we must all be, to a certain extent, a statesman. And since we've been given that rare privilege to elect our own leaders, it's incumbent upon us to know the issues, to especially know the obligations of members of the federal government and that oath that they take to uphold and support the Constitution. Well, what are they doing? What are they upholding? Are they upholding the Constitution? If we don't study the Federalist Papers, if we don't study especially the Constitution, then we don't know what their job description is. And so it's ultimately up to the people to say, I am going to take part in this government, because the last person I know prominent that made a tagline was President George H.W. Bush, and that is, the price of freedom is eternal vigilance. And I think we're just not vigilant enough as a people.
Well, how do we combat apathy? Because it seems to me too many people are becoming apathetic and not caring, when the opposite to help our country is what we need.
Well, I'm not sure that we can overcome apathy except for some great civics lesson that might not be may be a tragedy in our nation's history. I hope that doesn't happen, but we cannot continue to go on a theme that Christianity. We cannot continue to spend and print money our way out of economic downturn.
You can't spend your way to prosperity. You can only save your way to prosperity.
That's right, and especially when the idea of spending money is literally printing more pieces of paper to put in circulation so that individuals have the ability to do this. So this is one situation whereby the people may have to come tragically face to face with the need to become more involved, to do just exactly the opposite.
I have a question. Since you've been involved in Congress, there's another congressman we know and appreciate quite well too, and that's Ron Paul.
Yes.
And although the media didn't give him the coverage that he deserved, they're now coming back after the fact and asking for his insight, because he was on top of the whole issue on the Federal Reserve and what we need to do in economics. I mean, he's brilliant. It's too bad that Congress didn't give him the respect, a year ago that he should have had. Do you think that that there is hope that there are congressmen that will reverse their image of being a yellow-bellied, no good for nothing, waste of time, and actually get some grit and stand true, like Ron Paul, for the people?
I believe it's possible. it's definitely hopeful on my part, having 4 children. But I think what you'll find today is that we have members of Congress that are extremely concerned about re-election. And so when 64% of the country wants to go to war, then we'll probably go to war the next time. And I was asked a question yesterday that I just rethought my answer to it. I was asked yesterday at an event, what has been put in place so that nothing like this happens again, that this Iraq war situation will not happen again? My answer was a very political, calculated answer, in that the people have to become more involved. But in retrospect, in review of that, probably a better answer would be, I don't think anything has been done. And the reason I say that is because, once again, Washington said the sky is falling, just like it did when it said we have to go into Iraq and remove Saddam Hussein. But in this particular case, they said the sky is falling, we must give the financial services industry $750 billion. $700 billion. And we all said, oh, this is the latest emergency, and you want unspeakable amounts of new money to be printed to spend our way out of it. Please do that. So I guess in retrospect, my answer would have been different to the gentleman that asked me, because you have to think of the war in Iraq in the same situation that we think of the current situation with our economy. And that was, at the time, we had just been, less than a year before most of the consideration of the war in Iraq, we had just been struck by a foreign power, and we had had 3,000 people lose their lives on American soil. And America was responding to that, and government said, we must do this thing in order to cure that, in order to solve that problem. And 64% of Americans said, well, yes, remove Saddam Hussein from power militarily. The Congress, the Senate went along with it, and we did this. Once again, government came and said, the sky is falling, the financial services, the financial markets are in trouble, we need $700 billion. And we followed them.
Have we misplaced our trust? Have we, as a people, started to trust government more than the Constitution and the Founding Fathers' wisdom, and forgotten that we as citizens are the ones that are in charge?
That's exactly right, Mike. I believe you're right. We are looking to government to solve all of our problems, and when you understand what the framers said about government and the government they created a limited central government that only did a very few things, because they knew that this would possibly be very detrimental to us.
They were brilliant men, weren't they?
Genius.
Brilliant, yeah.
And unfortunately, I'm not going to look like much of a genius when the camera just goes black and we haven't closed out the show. Again, I remind you to visit a couple of websites, johnhostetler.com and nothingforthenation.com. It has been an incredible delight to have you with us, John, and I know on behalf of all the citizens of the greater Fort Wayne area and those who will be watching us on YouTube, we really appreciate your candor and your forthrightness and your willingness to stand in the opposition in the face of great pressure. Oh, I don't have 1 minute. Is that right? We have 5 minutes.
Oh, good.
5 minutes.
Good.
You can get your question in, Jim.
Well,
But also, beside that book, they ought to recommend this.